know how to enter farm data in the Describe window, we will move on to the Explain window. You see many tabs. Perhaps not all tabs are necessary yet. I will show you how to close the tabs you do not need. First, have a look if the farm area is correct. In this module, you see all crops listed with the cultivation area. Is the farm indeed the expected hectares? To check if the data entered in the Describe window is realistic, we go to the feed balance. Dry matter intake indicates to what extent the rumen or stomach of the animals is filled. Because the intake capacity cannot be exceeded, the deviation should be lower than 0. Energy and protein supply from feeds should meet the requirements. Otherwise, the indicated production level cannot be attained. A deviation of -5% to +5% is allowed for energy, while for protein this range is from 0% to 30%. Although in the latter case, the excess supply of protein will lead to extra nitrogen excretion and risk of losses to the environment. To balance the diet, we will have a closer look at the fodder crops in the Design window. We will check the amounts given as feed for animals, the fraction fed in non-grazing period, the feed values, and the yields. First, have a look which crops are fed in the stable period. You can see this in the Destination tab. Now we will check which values can be adjusted in order to balance the diet. As you can see here, half of the fodder beet is fed in the grazing period. That might not be necessary. Let's try how the balance will change if we give all the fodder beet in the stable period. Now the grazing period is more balanced. The extensive hay has very low energy and protein contents. In the stable period, also grass clover silage is fed. The yield is low. I expect the yield to be higher. The feed balance gets more realistic now. If we feed a bit more concentrates, it is acceptable. This is a realistic diet and the crop features are still reasonable. Now we will check the Manure tab. As you can see here, the manure production on the different sites is expressed. The balance is on 0, and you can see here that all manure is applied. If a farm exports or imports manure, the balance changes. Rock phosphate and kali vinasse are imported and applied. Nutrient cycles are visually expressed for carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Let's have a look at the nitrogen cycle now. You see 5 components: soil, crops, animals, manure, and household. The blue arrows visualize the nitrogen flows coming into the system. The red arrows, the nitrogen flows going out the system. The sum of inputs and outputs for each component should be balanced. Animal efficiency needs extra attention. The outputs divided by the flow from crop to animal should be between 0.1 and 0.25. The efficiency for meat-producing ruminants should be between 10% and 15%. For highly productive dairy cattle, this can be between 15% and 25%. The values for losses and accumulation and volatilization should be positive, since losses through leaching and denitrification are unavoidable. Try to fine-tune the farm configuration and continue to the next movie. Here we will explain how to define decision variables, objectives, and constraints.